Call of Duty doesn't mess around when it comes to the weapons that define its single-player campaigns and competitive multiplayer events. We're all about Fixer to Fabulous. While Chip and Joanna Gaines may have shuffled off HGTV as they prepare to launch their own Magnolia Network, viewers have been filling the fixer-upper-sized void in their hearts with the new series, Fixer to Fabulous. While the series consistently tinkers with its formula, one thing has remained constant: the desire to create a loadout of guns that are varied, exciting to use, and balanced. While the series has rarely struggled with the first two, however, the latter characteristic has been a difficult one to get right. Call of Duty has had its fair share of broken, over-the-top weapons that have completely smothered competitive play, and it seems like nearly every entry in the franchise has flirted with disaster thanks to a dominant gun. Premiering in the fall of 2019, this new show follows Dave and Jenny Mars on their mission to revive Arkansas heritage homes to their former splendor. According to HGTV's press material, the husband-wife team, who are also parents of 5, have constructed about 300 custom-built new homes while running Mars Developing, which specializes in the renovation and restoration of historic homes in the northwest Arkansas area. Their differing approaches to the projects they undertake complement each other, with Jenny described as the creative force, and Dave the craftsman and builder. Since returning with its second season in October 2020, Fixer to Fabulous is attracting new fans with every airing, as more and more viewers check in on the couple's home renovating antics. They might be difficult to deal with while they're here, but they're typically fond, funny memories after they've finally been nerfed into the ground. So here's our collection of the most overpowered guns in Call of Duty games. OSA, Infinite Warfare. The OSA combat rifle existed in other forms before Call of Duty, Infinite Warfare, but it was this variant of the weapon that truly broke things down on a multiplayer level. The gun's high rate of fire and attached grenade launcher made it incredibly flexible, especially in close quarters. While that doesn't sound like a weapon that's overpowered, it's important to keep in mind that a lot of competitive Call of Duty is played in tight spaces, as teams converge on each other at certain choke points to prevent pincer attacks or other formational disadvantages. At times in Infinite Warfare's early competitive meta, there would be 8 of 8 players wielding the OSA in a match, a clear sign of imbalance. Luckily for those playing the game at a high level, the OSA was eventually banned from competitive tournaments, after a patch was released that was specifically designed to lower its effectiveness. Given that the Mars are relative newcomers to television, there's much about this fascinating pair that viewers may not yet know. The gun was simply too fast and easy to use, often causing games to devolve into a rotating death pit of 2 teams wielding OSAs and spraying bullets at anything that moved nearby. The Infinite Warfare variant of the OSA will live on forever as one of the scariest guns in competitive play. Akimbo Model 1887. Modern Warfare 2. The Akimbo Model 1887 is still whispered about in some circles. Those who played multiplayer Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2 will remember the viciousness of this shotgun, which had a strangely quick rate of fire and a range that was way too ambitious for something with the stopping power of a shotgun. What makes the gun most memorable, and overpowered, though, is the Akimbo perk that players could take that allowed them to dual-wield 2 of the Akimbo Model 1887 at once. Prior to patches, it was considered to be the strongest shotgun in the game, as well as the best overall weapon for those looking for a competitive edge. Interestingly enough, it took 2 patches to remove the Akimbo Model 1887 from a competitive play mainstay. Read on to delve into the untold truth of Fixer to Fabulous. Fixer to Fabulous is a ratings winner for HGTV. Ratings for the debut season of HGTV's Fixer to Fabulous proved to be strong enough to warrant a second. In February 2020, HGTV issued a press release announcing the network had ordered 13 more episodes, after the first season attracted more than 17.9 million total viewers. When the second season of Fixer to Fabulous arrived in October, the network's faith in the show paid off. Patch 1.07 was supposed to decrease the range of the weapon, which is what made it such an overpowered shotgun, drastically. In addition to bringing in an audience of more than 3.9 million total viewers, according to another news release, the new season's premiere episode also performed well in several key demographics. A mistake made during the patch didn't actually remove the range of the Akimbo, though, meaning its reign of terror lasted a little longer while the developers scrambled to implement patch 1.08, which would finally see the Akimbo supplanted by the SPAS 12. That won't stop the occasional nightmares of an opponent barreling down on us with one of these in each hand, though. Unfortunately, those can't be patched out. FAL, Black Ops 2. The FAL OSW is a unique case in absolutely broken weapons in Call of Duty history. At the start of Call of Duty, Black Ops 2, the FAL OSW was actually a pretty middling semi-automatic assault rifle that specialized in high damage output. Meanwhile, Hgtv also celebrated the new season's debut as the #1 cable premiere among upscale P2554 and upscale M25-54. Dave and Jenny's witty banter, keen design sense and special family dynamic have elevated them as Hgtv stars to watch, Hgtv President Jane Latman said in a statement. The only thing truly holding it back from premiere status within the game was a recoil pattern that was just difficult enough to work with, that its accuracy, combined with a shorter two-shot kill range, that made it just on the edge of competitive stardom. Then, players clapped on the Select Fire attachment, an attachment that reduces recoil and makes the pattern much easier to discern, allowing for optimal crosshair placement even during combat. She added that millions of viewers have been inspired by the Mars renovation projects, as they're also heading to their social media pages to learn more about the family. The Mars promised the second season of Fixer to Fabulous would be bigger and better. Ahead of the premiere of the second season of Hgtv's Fixer to Fabulous, stars Jenny and Dave, Mars teased what fans of the show could look forward to. As Hgtv does, you never go backwards, Dave explained in an interview with Celebrity Page TV. We're just building on what we did in Season 1. It's bigger, it's better, it's cooler reveals. According to Dave, the new season of Fixer to Fabulous also brought additional challenges, such as renovating a lake property, that took the couple out of their comfort zone. We're in some places we never even thought we could get to, he continued. In the midst of it all, added Jenny, the couple are also raising 5 kids, and she's happy for the help that she's receiving. You can't do it all. You can't do it all alone, she shared. The FAL OSW, seemingly overnight, became a staple of competitive play, so much so that it began to threaten the competitive viability of the Black Ops 2 meta. Understandably, Treyarch stepped in fairly quickly, nerfing the gun after it had threatened to make Black Ops 2 nearly unwatchable from a spectator standpoint. You need good people around you, and thankfully we have that. Fixer to Fabulous. Dave and Jenny. Mars initially turned down Hgtv. When Dave and Jenny Mars were first approached by Hgtv about Fixer to Fabulous, it was part of the network's wider effort seeking stars for a new home Reno concept show set in small-town USA. Leagues had already banned the weapon by the time Treyarch adjusted it, but for the brief moment in time that the FAL OSW reigned supreme over Call of Duty, it was a truly overpowered weapon that deserves its place in any discussion of the most powerful weapons in Call of Duty history. MP40. World at War. The MP40 is a weapon that needs little introduction, having been at the center of many controversies during Call of Duty, World at War's reign in the series. We thought it was spam, Jenny said of the email they'd received. As the couple told the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, their first instinct was to decline. We didn't really have an interest, Dave said. And I was just worried. While Call of Duty has never been the best at balancing its weapons, as this article can attest to, there have been few weapons so egregiously offensive to the notion of competitive multiplayer as the MP40 was during its heyday. The MP40 is a submachine gun with decent accuracy but exceptionally good handling and power. I was thinking, small town? They're going to try and portray it as this backwoods thing. A producer flew to visit them in person in Bentonville, AK, assuring them that the goal was not portraying the area negatively. After agreeing to film at sizzle reel, the couple moved on, assuming that's the last they'd hear of it, until the producer got in touch to reveal Hgtv had approved filming a pilot. Suddenly, the Mars family found themselves trailed by a camera crew wherever they went. The damage output of the weapon was completely in a class of its own for SMGs, and its early unlock time and extreme flexibility made it a staple for anyone who considered themselves a competitive player. We really did not think that was going to happen, admitted Jenny.
Spray and pray was the name of the game with this weapon at lower levels, too, as players typically just needed to fire in the direction of a few enemies to be rewarded with a double kill with little effort. The biggest problem? The MP40 is one of the few weapons on this list that was never patched. It's a weapon that gutted the multiplayer viability of other SMGs for the entirety of World at War's lifecycle, frustrating players to no end while they waited for the next iteration in the series. FAMAS, Black Ops. The FAMAS was the weapon of choice for competitive Call of Duty, Black Ops play, especially on the MLG circuit. We had this nice, quiet little life, added Dave, admitting it was interrupted in a good way. The show wasn't always called Fixer to Fabulous. When HGTV first announced it was filming a TV pilot in Bentonville, AK with Dave and Jenny Mars, that pilot was not called Fixer to Fabulous. It's a fully automatic assault rifle with incredibly fast firing speed and very little recoil, meaning that it's an efficient and flexible choice for anyone looking to kill fast with accuracy. As Arkansas's Talk Business and Politics reported at the time, the pilot was originally titled Almost Home. Dave and Jenny Mars are renovating one historic house at a time, until it's almost home, was the tagline. This was totally out of the blue for us, Mars shared in late 2017. We were proceeding very cautiously, we wanted to make sure the area is shown in a good light. A few months after the pilot aired, TBNP reported that HGTV had picked up Almost Home, ordering 8 one-hour episodes. Taping, Jenny said, would begin in spring 2018 and continue through to the end of the summer. It also has a range that makes it well suited to long and short-range combat, and because its firing speed is so quick, it also plays good offense and defense. Naturally, being good at basically everything someone could want in a Call of Duty game means that the FAMAS was way too strong for Black Ops. Part of that could be attributed to the fact that Call of Duty Black Ops actually had a pretty poor gun selection for the most part, featuring some of the most balanced but watered-down versions of popular weapons up until that point. Players didn't have a lot of great choices to work with, so the FAMAS was even more revered than normal because it was so flexible without any real drawbacks except ammo starvation. Independent of the contextual meta of Black Ops, though, the FAMAS was still the cream of the crop in this game's weapons loadout. Its recoil pattern is remembered for being particularly easy to memorize, and when a gun has that kind of accuracy for an invested player, it quickly becomes overpowered in their hands and the bane of the existence of competitive players everywhere. Augur DMR, Black Ops 4. The Augur DMR is the most recent entry on this list and, as such, things will still need to shake out a bit more in Call of Duty Black Ops 4 before we know if it will truly live up to its potential as one of the most overpowered guns in the series. As TBNP pointed out, the show that was later renamed Fixer to Fabulous was one of several new HGTV series set in small towns throughout America. We're keeping our focus squarely on developing the kind of content that attracts new viewers and encourages them to sample the programming on our networks, said John Feld, HGTV Senior Vice President for Programming. Jenny Mars from Fixer to Fabulous shares design inspiration in her blog. Viewers of HGTV's Fixer to Fabulous who still want more after the end of an episode can head over to Jenny Mars' blog, which she's dubbed Blessings and Raindrops. It's the earliest frontrunner we have in Black Ops 4, though, so it deserves a look, especially because it's the first gun in series history to be overpowered in the new Blackout Battle Royale mode. The Augur DMR is a semi-automatic tactical rifle that is so powerful it can essentially double down as a sniper as well. It shouldn't be surprising that Jenny tends to put an inspirational spin on her blog posts, such as one recalling the day that Dave led her and their children up the rickety steps leading to the back door of an old farmhouse he had been asked to demolish. Going from room to room, she wrote, Dave shared his vision for each space, and she admitted her affection for the old home was undeniable. That structure was then picked up and moved to the outskirts of town, where they proceeded to restore it and build our life inside those four walls. While the task of transforming the decrepit farmhouse into their family home appeared to be a daunting one, Jenny shared the lesson she'd learned from the process. Whatever seemingly insurmountable task you're facing today, just remember, take it one step at a time. It has a slow rate of fire, but only takes 3 or 4 shots to kill an opponent and, on a bigger map like those in Blackout, it's an incredibly powerful weapon that specializes in mid to long-range combat and thrives in both. That kind of flexibility is rather unheard of in Blackout mode, which typically features weapons with clear-cut uses in specific situations. Luckily for balance concerns, the Augur DMR is extremely rare and won't factor into decisions too often since it's difficult to get a hold of. Though we could see players move toward wanting the gun nerfed anyways, since it does seem a cut above everything else going on in Blackout. Time will tell for the Augur DMR, but for now, enjoy using it to make other players miserable in Black Ops 4. MSBS. Ghosts. The MSBS didn't imbalance the Call of Duty Ghosts meta too badly, as it fluctuated between whichever guns got buffs from patch updates and never really saw the need to overtly nerf a bunch of different weapons that were dominating. While the MSBS isn't as godly as weapons from other series entries in that regard, however, it was rock solid and was one of the few guns that made underbarrel attachments and mods unnecessary thanks to its already high advantage, a surefire sign of a weapon on the teetering point of being broken. The MSBS is an assault rifle with a 3-round burst, and it has a solid range of 42 meters, able to kill enemies in a few bursts even over a fair distance. It's the only default burst-fire assault rifle available in multiplayer, and as such, players typically begin practicing with the MSBS very early into their Call of Duty, Ghosts careers. It also featured prominently in high-level competitive play while it was legal, as yet another case of a weapon that was just too good at too many things to be ignored for balancing purposes. The MSBS was very clearly on another level compared to other assault rifles, and was the closest thing the game had to a weapon that probably should have been in a discussion for reduced functionality and power, getting banned from the esports side of Call of Duty, Ghosts because of its impressive all-around stats. Vesper. Black Ops 3. The Vesper is definitely the weirdest case in the pantheon of overpowered Call of Duty guns. When Call of Duty, Black Ops 3 released, the Vesper was hardly a consideration for the best gun in the game, serving rather as a role player in competitive play that had few defenders given the perceived depth of the SMG pool. Then, the Vesper got a buff. The patch notes described it as the Vesper receiving increased recoil stability, which meant that it became easier to control for accuracy and headshots. Don't get overwhelmed with the big picture. Unfortunately, that was all it took to push the Vesper, which featured a very impressive fire rate, over the edge. Just focus on the next step on the path. Why does Fixer to Fabulous handyman Chase Looney wear an eye patch? The series pilot of Hgtv's Fixer to Fabulous, then called Almost Home, introduced handyman Chase Looney, who assists Jenny and Dave Mars on their renovation projects. Hardcore fans may have noticed that in subsequent episodes, Chase is wearing an eye patch over his left eye, which wasn't the case in the pilot. As Chase wrote in a post on his now-defunct website, Vis Distractify, just a few days after completing the pilot he was igniting a fireworks display to celebrate the 4th of July. After lighting the last of 5 mortars, he wrote, "The concussion from the one he'd lit previously tipped the one he'd just lit." Professional players even referred to it as the best submachine gun, best assault rifle, and best sniper rifle all in one. When the explosion went off, "I remember everything stopped," he wrote, recalling a deafening boom and burst of light. Rushed to a nearby hospital, Chase was told he'd lost his eye and that the scarring on his face might be permanent. The Vesper was genuinely that terrifying, and it threatened the game's long-term health with its stifling presence. The Vesper was eventually fixed again and its reign of terror over Call of Duty, Black Ops 3 halted, but it's the most prominent example of how the small fixes developers make to these kinds of multiplayer games can be dangerous. He then informed Dave and Jenny. All it takes is a slight buff to recoil or rate of fire and an unassuming weapon can suddenly become the only viable one in competitive play. Thundergun. Black Ops. The Thundergun is, unlike the other weapons we've discussed, not at all usable in competitive multiplayer play. It's also arguably the most memorable Zombies mode weapon ever, as well as one of the most fun to wield in series history. The Thundergun is iconic for the way it can brutalize hordes of undead in Zombies. It can blow them into dust with strong air currents while throwing those who survive its gigantic blast radius back, stunning them for several seconds and allowing players to open fire free of any pressure. The Thundergun is a wonder weapon, and can also be found in the Black Ops campaign during the Numbers mission, which means players do get a few different chances to wield the air-spitting cannon. "I told them, I don't think I have the face for TV anymore," he wrote. "Through tears and laughter they reassured me I never had a face for TV anyway." Fixer to Fabulous is no stranger to product placement. Product placement is a thing in most reality shows, and it's been going on for a long time. It's a recommended experience. 2. Unlike overpowered weapons in multiplayer, which can make the game feel like a chore, the Thundergun just makes Zombies mode a riot. It's also made a few appearances in Black Ops 3 and Call of Duty Online, so we may not have seen the last of this bizarre weapon. Car 98K, WW2. It takes a lot for a sniper rifle to be considered overpowered, since it is at its core a niche weapon that requires distance to be good and isn't typically capable of a bunch of kills all at once, making it a dangerous decision in competitive multiplayer games that can be decided in mere minutes depending on the map. But Call of Duty, WW2 provided the iteration of the Kar 98K sniper rifle that almost broke the game's online meta. Weirdly enough, it wasn't reload time, rate of fire or range that made the weapon too good, but rather its aim down sight time. When castaways on Survivor's second season back in 2001 were rewarded with Doritos, it wasn't random, but part of a sponsorship campaign that went beyond simply airing commercial spots by integrating the product within the show itself. It's a phenomenon that many viewers may not even notice, and one to which Hgtv's Fixer to Fabulous is not immune. 4611 is a firm specializing in landing product placement deals for clients, and boasts on its website of finding particular success sneaking items manufactured by its home improvement and home decor clients into the renos documented on Fixer to Fabulous. Among these were manufacturers of lighting fixtures and tiles. The ad's time on the Kar 98K meant players who suddenly found themselves in close quarters still had a decent chance to get the perfect shot off, making the weapon one of the most versatile snipers ever created in Call of Duty. The gun's adz was nerfed to be consistent with other premier sniper rifles early into the game's life cycle, so the Kar 98K only had a brief time in the sun as one of the most overpowered weapons in series history, but it was a memorable one. It's not everyday snipers are being complained about relentlessly in Call of Duty forums, and we may never see it again on the same scale. We just love Dave and Jenny Mars and their spectacular designs of each of the houses, said 4611 founder Nina Waters in a press release. Each design really brings out the best in each of our clients' products, whether it's the tile choices or the lighting. We are proud to be a part of this show for a second season. Fixer to Fabulous focuses on heritage homes while Dave and Jenny Mars' company, Mars Developing, renovates existing homes as well as constructs new domiciles. That latter part of their business isn't something that viewers will see on Fixer to Fabulous. That's simply because transforming rundown houses into lovingly renovated dream homes makes for better television than a new build. As Jenny told At Home in Arkansas, both she and her husband have a real affinity for older homes. Historic homes were built with such care and attention to detail, she explained. The builders focused on using all available space and local resources to build these homes. She added that each home has its own unique character, unlike new homes that are built to be cost-effective, thereby lacking real charm. As for how they come up with the designs they utilize for their Fixer to Fabulous renovations, Jenny says their aesthetic inspiration comes from such eclectic sources as modern European design and traditional New England homes. I would say our personal style is a touch Scandinavian with elements of California coastal, she continued. We're very focused on natural light and beautiful spaces that are functional for modern families. Fixer to Fabulous expanded its reach with companion show Life on Mars as Hgtv's Fixer to Fabulous continued to find success alongside other renovation shows like Flip or Flop and its spin-offs. Another opportunity presented itself. In October 2020, Jenny Mars took to Instagram to make a special announcement. We have some other exciting #Fixer to Fab news we can finally share. She wrote in the caption, accompanying a photo of herself and hubby Dave sitting on their front porch while being filmed.
Hgtv created a behind-the-scenes look into Season 1 in a new show called Life on Mars that will air every Tuesday night this fall. Jenny described Life on Mars as a super fun show where Dave and I spill the beans on what it was really like to film each of the Season 1 episodes. She concluded by thanking the viewers who made the show successful enough to warrant a spin-off. We are truly humbled and grateful for the way you've welcomed us into your living rooms, she added. Having their lives filmed constantly for Fixer to Fabulous took some getting used to. Dave and Jenny Mars hadn't had any experience in front of the camera when they were tapped to film the pilot for Fixer to Fabulous. As Jenny admitted in an interview with the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, having a camera crew following them around took some getting used to, especially when it came to the couple's 5 children. When they film with the kids, that's always unpredictable, she revealed. She added that she tends to forget that she's wearing a microphone, too. Jenny recalled one awkward moment when they were asked to film a scene where they walk out of the door. What should have been a simple shot was complicated by the children, as somebody was always crying. I said, you guys. All I need is 5 minutes. Just act like normal people, okay? And then I was like, oh, you can hear all of that, can't you? Well, now you know. However, as they got more accustomed to being filmed, Dave said he forgets there's a crew at all. I think you just get used to it after a while, he told About You. Dave and Jenny Mars use Fixer to Fabulous to promote their philanthropic efforts long before they ever appeared on TV screens. On Fixer to Fabulous, Jenny and Dave Mars had been heavily involved in philanthropy. One of their charitable efforts is the Berry Farm, which features an event venue for weddings and other special occasions, along with a U-Pick blueberry field. The proceeds fund the Help One Now charity in the African nation of Zimbabwe. The goal is to provide resources to train and empower teenagers and young adults to transition into adulthood with the skills that they need to succeed. According to Melissa Halford, event coordinator at Berry Farm, being able to promote their charitable endeavors on television was a big reason why the couple agreed to participate in Fixer to Fabulous. I think, from the beginning, they had the thought in their mind that this might help get their story out, she told the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. As Jenny explained, even if they became a laughingstock on television but could attain a little more publicity for the nonprofit, then this would all be worth it. Time was the biggest challenge Dave and Jenny Mars faced on Fixer to Fabulous. As viewers of Fixer to Fabulous have certainly witnessed, the projects that Dave and Jenny Mars take on for the show are certainly not without their obstacles. Discussing their experiences filming the first season, Jenny told Almost You that the biggest challenge they faced had to do with the strict timeframes imposed due to the demands of television. It was really tight, just because of the production schedule, she revealed. We had a few weeks, for the most part, from start to finish, and if something did go wrong. That, Jenny said, proved to be the case when an item needed to complete a renovation was cracked when it arrived. We were in trouble because we didn't have enough time to get another one, she continued. And that happens often, whether it's lights or tile or if we find something in the house that we have to completely redo. Given their time constraints, Dave and Jenny often have to get creative at the last minute.